anxiety. Okay, no problem, that's all good. That's supposed to be that way, the data are suggesting. So then let's say normal kids with normal histories are in this space. How do they work through it? Well, now I have tension inside of me, right? Anxiety is tension, all these questions are tension. And what they do, normal kids, is they pick up the phone and they call somebody and they say, hey, Julie, what are you doing today? Angela, what are you doing today? Justin, what are you doing today? Stan, what are you doing today? Gavin, you want to go hang out? Brent, you want to go for a run? You know, on and on, right? And then just by reaching out to others and just seeing what's up, we're talking about it, that already starts to soothe and deflate the balloon. And because of that tension, that creates intrinsic motivation for me to seek out and brainstorm and reach out to relationships, it enhances and continues the development of my pro-social skills and relational development. And we know that's important because as people get older, the relationships are far more sophisticated and complex. And if your growth is stunted while your cohorts are still growing and working through that stuff in a healthy way, and you get stuck along the way, it's hard to play catch-up for some of those young adults. So healthy, normal adolescents will reach out, get solution-focused, get relational, and move on with life. Now, let's take that same kid without just even any pre-existing traumas or whatever, ADD, depression, anxiety, poor relationships at home, but they're just a regular kid who's now using substances during this turmoil time that's normal. And guess what happens for them? With that tension, what happens? They find satiation and relief as a result of the effect of the substance. I am soothed. I lose intrinsic motivation to pick up the phone. Why do I need to call anybody? I'm happy being high. I have no drive. I have no tension. I'm in relief. So now, without them knowing it, what's happened is they start to build a relationship that overly relies on substances offering soothing. And it's, you know, it's not like they're conscious of it necessarily, but that's what they're doing. Let's say they're struggling with the need to belong, a natural stage of life, and affiliation and belonging, and they don't, you know, they're having a hard time, you know, like knocking on the door of social cliques and groups that will invite them in, and they're, you know, insecure and struggling with that. Tell me what the response of drug culture is when I knock on that door today as a stranger with a bag of weed and a 12-pack in my hand.
Come on in.
Come on in. Let me welcome you into the crowd today. This is, all right, over here we have this person, come back in, come back next week. Wow, what's the experience they just had? Acceptance, belonging, and for some, family, maybe love, being seen, a place to fit in, a place to go to, right? So that becomes one of the hooks. So one of the hooks is it relieves the tension and stress. Now socially, my need to belong is being met, right? See what's happening here? These are all the things that contribute to the pathological relationship to intoxication. And the younger you are when you first start using, or a person is, the more likely this happens. So this is the difference between juvenile onset substance use and adult onset. Adult onset, neurobiology is built, relationships and coping are built. You have responsibilities in life that slow down a progression, like you got to show up to trainings and work and pay bills and raise kids. What are the environmental protections and buffers to break and slow down the progression of use for young people? I got to go to school. But the school can be the playground where they are trading ideas and drugs for the weekend. When I work with young drug dealers, they don't like the summertime. Their profits go down in the summertime, you know. Their Adderall sales revenues increase pre-midterm and pre-finals, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. Now check this out. If early onset of substance use stunts growth in this emotional coping and relational skills building and neurobiology. And the average age of first intoxication is what age? I didn't say that earlier. It's 12 years old, right? And then let's say someone shows up to treatment with you and they're in their 50s, 40s. They might have juvenile onset addiction. Don't be fooled. So their development might be more stunted than you think. So you really want to go back with the history and get a sense of, did they use at a young age? And now you have this chart to know, like, so these are some of the variables of how things get damaged. All right, and I'll speak to some of the neurological damage in a minute. All right, the other thing that happens with substance abuse, so now they're continuing to use despite consequences, whereas the experimenters and misusers quit. Substance abusers continue to use. And they're holding on and protecting. So they're, spraying themselves with cologne before they come home if they smoke marijuana, trying to use mouthwash if they were drinking alcohol. They're trying to beat the drug screens. All these things to try to protect their relationship to intoxication. Their values change. So what was once family as the biggest priority, and school and friends and work and hobbies as the hierarchy of what's important in life, and drugs would be at the bottom, now drugs goes to the top and family goes to the bottom. As a result of the developing pathological relationship to intoxication that starts to occur in substance abuse and really gets, if you will, myelinated in chemical dependency. How do I know that's an effect? Those changes are an effect of substance use and not just being a teenager? Because I've worked for over 17 years with teens, and I've seen them when they come through the door, they're kicking and they're fussing and they hate their family. They're so angry about having to come to treatment. And we know that we don't wait for kids to want to get clean. That's silly. That's a message of the 80s. Two messages were wrong in the 80s. Deal with the underlying issues and the substance use will go away. Wrong. Get the substance use out of the way and then deal with the underlying issues. Or in some severe cases, deal with them both at the same time. And that's increasingly the case with the people I'm working with. The other thing that was not the correct message was we can't help them unless they want help.
Right.
Well, that goes against the diagnosis. Right? This is an illness that's supposed to hide from itself. I don't know I have a problem. You think I do, but I don't think I do. That's the illness, right? It creates problems for me, and I don't see that it's a problem. All right. So we actually have to lift the bottom for them. That's the work we do. That's the work we do. So their values change, and then check it out. When they're 6 months sober, guess what? This is what I've seen. 9 times out of 10, their values realign back, and they start to say things like this. My biggest regret is what I put my family through. Session 1, get out of my life, family, I hate you. 6 months into sobriety, my biggest regret is what I put my family through. My biggest reward is what? My family's still here and they trust me again. My name has value in my family system. My word has value in my family system. Independent variable, substance use. Sobriety. All right. Then, let's see here, what else do we have? Substance abuse. So it stops emotional development, which I already talked about, and it distorts emotions. Our emotions are barometers for us. My logic professors in grad school would not want to hear me say this. When I studied philosophy of logic and epistemology and all that stuff, it was logic, logic, logic. If you had a feeling, that was like not appropriate. Feelings are informative. Feelings are very informative, right? Feel in your gut how this sounds. Justin Olson is standing back there, but he's left a wad of cash over here. And I want you guys to go take that money from Justin. Now I want you to go take that money from Justin. The show's not going to go on until that money is stolen. Let's go do it. Come on, guys. Right? There's a part of you that says, and from the visceral level, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel right. That does not resonate with me. And then I say, nah, it's all good. Don't worry about that. I was just using that as an example. Oh, relief, right? That feels better. Or instead of robbing Justin, how about we go next door and ask them if they have some money they'll loan us? You're like, okay, that feels more appropriate, right? that barometer is helpful. If we steal from Justin, we have guilt and shame. If we get arrested, we have guilt, shame, and punishment. And then we go, ouch, I shouldn't have done this. That's what happens for healthy, normal people. Just like sticking in your hand in the, you know, the correlate to this would be, the physical correlate would be sticking your hand in the fire, right? It tells you not to do that anymore, otherwise you're in trouble. Well, relationally, spiritually, we have a barometer in our gut that comes up and says, don't do this anymore, you're going to be in trouble. That barometer goes away in substance abuse. That barometer goes away with chemical dependency. So now they're doing behaviors over and over again, despite the consequences, and they're not connected to it. They're not connected to it. And then that leads to even more, for young people, an I don't care attitude. All right, you with me on that?
Yeah.
We might be working with adults that have all this dynamic taking place, in addition to the dynamic we were talking about earlier of attachment and regulatory issues. All right. Chemical dependency is everything that I've just said, but there's more preoccupation and obsession around it. So these are the people that are like trying to legalize it, that don't have medical issues. These are the young people writing papers on legalizing it for the 5th time. The 1st time's an assignment. After that, it's preoccupation people, right? Their internet ID or whatever the ID on their digital media is, you know, Shroom Guy 46 or 420 later, you know, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, wake and bake now, on and on. Personalized license plate of that. Wearing the hip jewelry with the little mushroom that's in the crystal ball. You guys seen that? You know, just, you know, drug reference paraphernalia kind of stuff. Continued use despite consequences, and then loss of control. Loss of control is when somebody sets limits on their use and then they go beyond the limit. So they say, hey, I get that I need to now make change. Parents are on me, the legal system's on me, my wife, husband's on me. I need to make change. So this time when I go to the party, I'm only going to have 2 beers. And then they drink 2 beers and they're addicted. So it triggers preoccupation, compulsion to use, and then seeking behavior, then they go get the drug, and then they keep playing out all that stuff. All right, that's addiction.
John?
Yes?
What about the anxiety and the healthy response and unhealthy response? The age that I'm witnessing is that stress that we talk about, the concerns of mastery and competency. It's hitting kids at lower levels, and the kinds of statements that I'm hearing from 9th graders, 8th graders, 7th graders, they're worried about their siblings. It seems like those quote-unquote adult issues are getting shoved down at lower ages.
Right.
Is that something that you're noticing?
You know, we see some trends, and actually in my book on that, and Justin, you can turn this off. In my book, there's a study that I cite that shows young people's perception of experiencing stress. And then the items that stress